Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Q&A Day. It's Sleep-In Saturday. I tried to sleep in. I couldn't sleep in today. Woke up early. Kastuba, how are you?
We're doing good today. Raghunath, I just got to ask you to move over just a little bit. Your face is almost out of the screen.
She's trying to wheedle me out of the show, Mary, take over my spot.
On the Saturdays, we actually use a photo of you in the YouTube thumbnail, so I need a good, shot of you,
Very good. So here, live with Mara, spinning the dials, and it's Q&A day. And yeah, Mara's got a split because she's got to take Tarun to, what's it called? Musical theater camp. They're doing a performance today. So she's going to take him. Then I'm going to go to the musical performance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, if you could line up the music for us at the end, Kastuba, that would be
all right. Got it. And speaking of performances, theatrical performances, last night's Sweet Baby Krishna was quite a
Sweet Baby Krishna. We had Sweet Baby Krishna yesterday. Mara got a Grammy.
Her debuted.
Or an Emmy or an Oscar. One of those awards she got for her very realistic and heartfelt presentation of the wife of King Harishchandra. So we did the Harishchandra drama.
She played.
She played many roles. She supported roles. She played the child. I played the narrator.
And Harsh.
It's actually very good. You really get into these roles. And I tell you that story, as bizarre as it is, it gave me some deep realizations of the temporality of material existence, the dreamlike nature of material existence. I'm going through it right now. I'm going through my dreamlike world right now.
I think it also really had to do with Harishchandra's steel-like determination to act dharmic no matter the consequences.
Yeah, dedication to virtue and dharma no matter what. Yeah. And it pays off. And at the time of, and truthfully, at the end of our life, it's going to pay off. Like what are we choosing? It's going to make all the difference in the world. It makes all the difference on a daily basis as well. Not
so
just
you're saying that even if we have to sell off our family as slaves and then ourselves as a slave, just do it because
just do it. You might have to do it if it's the right thing. All I'm saying, if it's the right thing, then do it. Right. Sometimes it may not seem to be the right thing, but you got to ask the Brahmins. It was a very peculiar story, but it turns around in the end. Anyway, you know what? I just missed Baby Krishna, though, I will say. So I'm going to try to get back into it this week if I can.
Something special to offer to the Patreon subscribers.
Yeah, and Patreon subscribers keep this boat floating. Okay, so it is Q&A day. If you're new to the show, it's a day that people send in questions.
Do we have announcements, or is Mara already gone?
She's already gone.
All right, but we have to announce that there's no show tomorrow.
There is no show tomorrow.
Okay. But we're back on Monday.
Kastuba needs a little break, and that's okay.
Is that what it is?
Sometimes Kastuba needs a break, and that's okay, people.
Is that what it is? Are you sure?
I think it is.
All right. Okay.
All right.
And there's probably I'd assume that there's a Bhakti recovery meeting today, and probably one
9:30,
tomorrow.
9:30 a.m.
9:30 today, and probably more tomorrow. Shloka class at 10 a.m. with Nityananda Chandra.
If you
Sloka
chant your
memorization.
shlokas, you will not get soka.
Okay.
You'll not get sad if you chant your shlokas. Oh, there's also a meeting at 12:30, Mara saying in the background, Bhakti Recovery Group. Thank you, Mara. All right, so
We got a question?
we're going to dive off the first questions. I'll read it to you. This is from Kaya.
Kaya.
The parents, what do the parents think when they spell these names? How are we supposed to pronounce
Kaya.
that?
You pronounce that Kaya.
How do you know that?
I looked it up.
Kaya. It's K-A-I-A.
K-A-I-A.
Our generation, people didn't do that. You're like Dave Raymond. It was real simple. Now it's like, it's Kaya with a silent G. What? This is from Kaya. Hare Krishna, everyone. This body and brain of mine were wired in such a way that it's transgender and non-binary. I'm new to Bhakti and struggling. A lot of the time, the lessons given at my temple talk about how gender identity situations like mine are wrong and some delusional secular ideology. I agree that the true self has nothing to do with the body or how we identify, but it seems like the Vedic understanding of sex, gender, and identity still requires sticking to a specific traditional norm.
Okay, that's
good. That's good. You want to comment on that first? Or you want to go into the questions? There's two questions.
Yeah, let's just comment on that a little bit so far.
Okay.
Right? Because Kaya, I don't know where you live. I don't know what community of Bhakti yogis you're connected with. But I think that I agree that the true self has nothing to do with the body or how we identify. Okay. But it seems like the Vedic understanding of sex, gender, and identity still requires sticking to a specific traditional norm. I don't necessarily, well, it depends how you define the specific traditional norm, but if what you're saying there is that what you've been taught is that there are two very rigid gender possibilities and there's nothing else, I would say that that's incorrect. If they're saying that that's the Vedic presentation, I'd say that's not quite correct. Now, I'm not ready to swing the whole other way and say there are genders like incredibly super ridiculously fluid and you can wake up tomorrow with one of 275 different identities and that may change the next day. That's another thing, but if we look at and we'll pull something up from the Bhagavatam in a bit to show how it's a bit more nuanced than that. I'm not saying that that's not what you've been taught, but what I'm questioning is whether that's actually the true Vedic understanding.
Okay.
You have any thoughts you want to share on that, Raghu?
No, I'm just listening to you.
All right.
Okay, so here are the questions. I want to serve devotees and worship Krishna, but the idea of going back into a temple makes me anxious, that it physically hurts.
That hurts me to hear that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
When I did go to the temple, I felt like I had to be closeted, which is dishonest and unfair to anyone who expects me to be trusting and authentic as a devotee. I want to be respectfully, modestly authentic there, but I'm not sure if that's possible. I understand
that's
that.
a really interesting way to phrase it. I want to be respectfully and modestly authentic.
Sure.
And we'll get to that. But
yeah, I don't want to associate with the idea of loving Krishna in association with the community with these feelings of anxiety and extreme worry. What can I potentially do, and how can I find community and be of service somehow?
Okay, so that's
a first question.
Yeah, that's a real practical question. And then the second question is more theoretical. But why don't we go ahead and read that too?
Okay, I'll just read it. What are some ways I can read and reconcile the Gita, the Bhagavatam, and Srila Prabhupada's purports as someone who doesn't seem to fit into any gender identity that aligns with social order of things like the Varnashram Dharma and the structure of a traditional family? Thanks for everything you do. These are nice questions.
Okay, Kaya.
All right. You want to take a shot at this?
Okay, well,
question 1.
yeah, I think I'll start with question 2, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So again, question 1 was kind of more practical. It's like, what do I do, Mike? There's a community of devotees, and they don't seem to respect where I'm at, and I don't, I feel anxiety when I'm with them, and I don't know where to turn. That's a practical question. The second question was more theoretical. I'm reading Gita, I'm reading Bhagavatam. It seems like it's presenting a very traditional, very super binary kind of presentation. If you're going to fit into Varnashram Dharma means, that, for lack of getting, I don't want to get too deep into it, but just like the kind of social structure and social roles that are provided in the ancient Vedic
and their general
tradition.
social social structure.
Yeah. And so here's the first thing I want to get into. And well, let's just pull something up from Bhagavatam. Okay. I'm going to pull something up. This is really from one of my favorite passages in Bhagavatam. I mean, I have a lot, I suppose.
What canto?
4th canto, chapter 28, I believe. And I'm going to start at text 52. And I've read this on the show before. And we read it on the show before when we went through it. And I've come back to it on different occasions. But this is this is such a cool pastime, right? It's such a cool story. It's kind of an allegory within the Bhagavatam, where Narada is preaching to King Prachinabarhi, and he's trying to help him understand who he is and what the value of his opportunities in the human life is. And he tells a story about a king that goes through different lives. And so there's a king named Paranjan. He's got his whole ups and downs. Then he dies, and then in his next birth, he takes birth in the body of a woman. And then that she's a queen. Her husband dies, and the queen is performing the funeral ceremony. The body's about to get lit up, at the funeral pyre. And she's approached by a Brahmana. But that Brahmana represents the Paramatma, the super soul, God within the heart of every living being. And so what we have here is Bhagavatam is framing like this is the message from God within your heart to you, right? And it's just like spelling it all out. At a vulnerable time, right? At the moment of her husband's funeral, the Paramatma arrives, and the message is a general message about how we travel through this world and we accept many different forms, right? And how we're none of those forms, but we identify with those forms. And so I'll read you a passage from it. This is beginning from text 52. I've kind of edited it down slightly just to make it go a little quicker. But the Brahmana inquired as follows. So the Brahmana, the Paramatma, speaking to the soul in the form of this woman, said, "Who are you? Whose wife or daughter are you? Who is this man lying here on the funeral pyre? It appears you are lamenting for this dead body. Don't you recognize me? I'm your eternal friend. You may remember that many times in the past you have consulted me. You've prayed to God, My dear friend, even though you cannot immediately recognize me, can't you remember that in the past you had a very intimate friend? Unfortunately, you gave up my company and accepted a position as the enjoyer of this material world." Right? Okay, I'm going to turn my back to God. I'm going to try to become the enjoyer of the world. Both you and I are exactly like two swans. We live together in the same heart. Although we have been living together for many thousands of years, we are still very far away from our original home, right? The spiritual realm beyond this virtual reality that we're in. Since you left me, you've become more and more materialistic. And not seeing me, you have been traveling in different forms throughout the material world. This is real important now, right? This is part of the fundamental spiritual knowledge that we're meant to embrace. Just the very idea that I've been through many forms. I may not know them, I may not remember them, but we can safely assume I've been man, I've been woman, right? I've been animal, I've been plant. I've been sinner, I've been saint. And I've been through all the different genders as well. Like we are all going through all of these states. This is spiritual knowledge, right? Okay, you don't fit neatly into the gender binary. Well, maybe I do, but probably my last life I didn't, or if not, a few lives before that. Like
Sure.
we're all made of the same quality spirit, and we're all moving through different bodies with different circumstances.
We are matter fluid, aren't we? Our
Yeah, that's
matter that
fluid.
we are encased in is completely fluid.
Yeah. Okay, then he says this. Actually, you are not the daughter of Vidarbha, nor is this man your well-wishing husband. Right? He's saying right now you're in the role of the daughter of a particular person, and this man who's on the funeral pyre, he was playing the role of your well-wishing husband, but that's not who either of you are. Just for a moment, you were passing through those circumstances, through those bodies, through those circumstances. Now, so he's saying we pass through many different bodies. And then he says this, and this is the point I wanted to come to. Sometimes you think yourself a man. Sometimes you think yourself a woman. And then he says this, and he says sometimes both. Right? He uses this word ubhayam, which means both. Now that's interesting. What does that mean? And the way that I understand that from the yoga, from the presentation of yoga philosophy as we read it, is that I may have the body of one gender and the mind of another, right? Or you could say nowadays these words have been they've been recently kind of more specifically defined, right? I have the biological sex of one gender, of one sex. And I have the mental body of another gender, if you want to say it like that, right? So he's saying sometimes we think I'm a man. Sometimes, next body comes along, I'm identifying I'm as a woman. Next body comes along, I'm like, well, I kind of have a man body, but a woman's mind, or I have a woman's mind, but in a man's body, So that you could say is non-binary, right? It doesn't neatly fit into, in one sense it's binary because it's still there's man and there's woman, but it's non-binary in the sense that a person with that condition or circumstance or whatever term you want to use, that they are in one sense not neatly fitting into either of these. And Bhagavatam is telling us that's real. That's very real. It's not like
the Bhagavatam is such a powerful zoom way the heck out version of existence.
Yeah.
When I'm hearing you say this, I was like, imagine if I'm really zoomed out, and our bodies, from little boy to old, to old man to next gen, and then I switch my sex. Then I'm a very, very feminine woman, and then the next life a very masculine man, and then somewhere in between, it's almost like waves. They're going up and down, and the matter is all fluid, and we're just witnessing it back from the zoomed out perspective of the Bhagavatam. If I could see my lifetime go through 20 lifetimes, but look at it almost like, within very short, like time lapse photography, it would seem like, oh, I can't believe, look at this being Raghunath, look at Raghunath going through all his mental agitation and bothersome life right now. Doesn't he understand, like, he's going to sneeze and this whole life is going to be over. He's going to have a new one. Why is he getting so caught up in the temporary?
Right.
I don't mean to be dismissive, but I'm just saying when he is really zoom out, you could be like, oh man, I can't believe I invested so much energy into a temporary identity.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly where Paramatma continues here, right? Sometimes you think yourself a man, sometimes a woman, sometimes you identify as both, right? This is because of the body, which is created by the illusory energy. This illusory energy is my potency. And actually both of us, you and I, are pure spiritual identities, right? We are just as pure as God is. Right? We're made, whether I'm in a man's body, a woman's body, whether I'm in a body where my physical body and my mental body don't align in terms of gender identification, whatever it is, we're all made of that pure spiritual energy, just as pure as God, right? You and I, we're both pure spiritual identities. Now, just try to understand this. I'm trying to explain our factual position. My dear friend, I, the super soul, and you, the individual soul, are not different in quality. For we're both spiritual. In fact, my dear friend, you are qualitatively non-different from me, in your constitutional position. Just try to consider this subject. Those who are actually advanced scholars, who are in knowledge, do not find any qualitative difference between you and me. Okay, so that's the theory, right? In other words, that we're all pure spirit. We're moving through different bodies that have different types of gender identification. We have two bodies, you could say: a physical body, a gross physical, touchable, tangible body, and a subtle mental body, right? And it's just a fact of reality, and a very common one, right? That people are born and raised with, with a mind that doesn't connect with the body in that on that level. So then the question is, how do we deal with that as a society, right? That's the theory. So to your first question, to your second question, it's how can you reconcile this with the Gita or the Bhagavatam? I don't think you have to. I think it's right there. Bhagavatam recognizes your situation. It validates your situation. It's not saying, oh, this is some concoction or someone's making this up or they've got to change or anything like that. No, it's saying that's the way that's how we move through the world. That's one of the common circumstances.
Kostuba is just much of a male as he is a female. This is
it's just the body that I'm in right now.
Yeah.
You're trying to emasculate me.
Yeah. See, he's a female. You're such a woman. What do you mean by that? I'm just seeing with zoomed out goggles, lady Kostuba.
Okay. So then we get to the practical question, which is, and what I loved about how Kaya expressed themselves here, I want to be careful, right? Is that you said exactly what clued me into your sincerity here. Is you said, I want to be respectfully and modestly authentic. In other words, when I read that, I understood that you're not on a mission to go into that temple and express this week's latest presentation of gender theology and try to cram it down everyone's throat and say, if you don't accept this, you are hateful. And that's not what you're doing. You're saying, I just want to fit in, like I just want to be accepted for what I am. That's spiritual knowledge.
I want to run with the tribe who loves me.
And you should be accepted like that. And so again, I don't know, people, they give generalizations about the broader Bhakti communities or like say ISKCON or whatever. But really, so much of it depends where you're at, like even within the same city, like you may have two different centers with very different moods, we see that all the time, actually.
Well, a center is only who's in the center. You know what I mean? Like if Wisdom of the Sages is only me and Kostuba, if we switch out Kostuba with somebody else, it becomes a different show. If you switch me out with someone else, it becomes a different show. Right. If you say, well, I don't like the Catholic Church, it's a pretty bold statement. Really any like institution is made up of what's happening in that particular room, who's leading any company, who's the leader of the company, who are the employees of that company. So we got to find people that resonate with us and want to live and make us feel like, I want to go deeper into this.
Right. And you know what? It may be that someone's sitting on the pulpit or whatever, and giving their presentation, and it may not represent all the people that are sitting there listening. All the people that are member, it may, and I would totally get it, how in that circumstance, how you might feel very alienated from everyone, but maybe you're not as alienated as you think. Maybe that's one person's opinion, and maybe that person's like a leader or, but it may not be, your tribe may be right there in that room with you and you don't even know it. That's one possibility. But as Raghunath's saying, I think the point is we need to find the people. There's two things. On one sense, I'm not suggesting, there's kind of a balance, right? I'm not suggesting that this circumstance be ignored or not addressed. I think truth speakers should stand up and say, hey, was your presentation really, your presentation has the possibility of alienating people, and was it really what's taught in Bhagavatam? Let's talk about this. I think that's important to have those conversations. That's one thing. But I also feel it's important for someone in your circumstance, say, where am I going to find my tribe? You know, you know, again, I want to be respectful, and I want to be authentic. I want to be both, and I'm looking for people that can accept me that way. And I would say this, you know, just on a real practical level, Kai, why don't you write to us if you don't mind, and share a little bit more about your circumstance. Let us know where you're from. Maybe we can help a little bit with this. I also want to mention that we do have a Sage group, LGBTQ Sage group, right? And our Sage groups are they're winding down. This session of our Sage groups are winding down in the beginning of September, and towards the end of September, I believe, we start the next session. So you write to us and let us know, would you like to be in that Sage group? You know, a group where you'll be fully accepted for who you are, and you'll have even a chance to discuss these issues and your feelings and your circumstances, and also maybe even search for solutions and so on within that group. So yeah, I in one sense I feel some sympathy or empathy, or you know, I feel sorry that you have to that this is even an issue, right?
Sure.
Our spiritual, not, you know, we sometimes we take the religious principles and they begin to do more harm than they do good, and it sounds like this is a circumstance like that. Always important to go to the spiritual essence, right? And I think that's the answer to this, that we, you know, we're all going through all these different circumstances. That's what we bought into when we bought into this material world, and we got to love one another, and take care of one another. You know?
Yeah, Kai, the main thing, Kai, is to keep the main thing the main thing. The main thing is we are tiny parts of Krishna. The identity that we have in this world, it's only a partial identity. To the degree that I identify with me as the male, the white male father, you know, it's just like it is so temporary and causes me so much trouble that I'm forced to identify with it. I am a dad right now, but at the same time, I'm watching my kids grow up, and all of a sudden I'm still a dad, but that little family is gone. And so it's like, to the degree that I identify, I'm the dad, I'm the head of this household, the material world has a way of breaking that apart anyway. And it just smashes our identity. I thought I was this career. I lost my career. You know, I thought I was this guy with this huge, beautiful head of hair. I've lost all my hair. This is just one identity after another. So the Bhagavatam will always go for that eternal identity as the self. If I identify with that, in the meantime, we want some, quote, practical advice. The practical advice always deals with the temporary, but we should deeply understand it will never fully give us what we actually need. So we always push towards the main thing, because the periphery things will never actually give us an actual feeling of identity. I might be accepted in the LGBTQ plus community, but I should understand that the real community is, I'm a community of tiny spiritual beings, part of God. And so there is really one community. But yeah, you need like-minded people to inspire you on the tribe, to inspire you on the path. So you do find your tribe, and you will find your tribe too, because it's out there. People are out there just like you.
For sure.
But we and the only thing we have to be careful of is don't make our tribe even
Our identity.
Our identity, because we're bigger than that. And you know, it was nice because the first time I went, you know, I stayed in the Brooklyn Temple in the 80s.
Okay.
It was such a mismatch of it was like the Ukrainian guy, the Russian guy, the Polish woman, the three Bengalis, you know, the New Yorkers, the Puerto Rican guy from the Bronx. It was just like, it was such a like a, what would you call it, a melting pot. And no, I mean, on a social tribal level, we were all different, but in that ashram, you're just forced to keep the main thing. We're here to worship Krishna. And I actually have a common thread with all these people. And that's the main thing. And it is beautiful. And sometimes the universe is going to ask you to overlook some difference and go right to the heart of this person. And I find that even in my service to Krishna, that's been asked of me. I've had to do service with people I don't get along with, even people I don't like, but I have to respect them on a much deeper level. And that becomes very powerful. And then I find Krishna really empowers you too. Another thing I wanted to add on is expect to get hurt in this world. You know, if you're a little bit different, expect to get your feelings hurt and just deal with that. Just become a little tolerant. I know I was a punk rocker. I got my feelings hurt. You know, I was straight edge. I got my feelings hurt. You know, I got attacked for being straight edge. I got meat thrown at me when I became a vegetarian. It was like one offense after another. And I could be offended by everybody, or I could just deal with it and say, you know what I am is what I am. I'm a spiritual being, and God knows my truth, and God knows my reality, and I'm connected to God. And there's going to be people that love you, and there's going to be people that praise you, but you just have to get very connected in who you are and what your contribution is, and then let the dogs bark.
Okay. All right, Bubba, you ready for the next one?
I hope that was good, Kaya.
And like I say, please feel free to reach out to us, wisdomsages108@gmail.com, and we might be able to hook you up with some community too.
Ooh, look who wrote this question. It's our friend Gemma McDonald from Scotland. All right. Harry Bowl, dear Kostuba, Raghunath, and Mara, I hope this finds you very well. Firstly, I would like to express, it does. Firstly, I would like to express my deepest gratitude for the service that you carry out every day to help all of us dented cans out there. And I appreciate you so much. I don't know where I would be without you. I listen to the podcast every day, although I am mostly in other due to time difference in the UK. And I really enjoy being able to join live when I can. It is an altogether different experience being in the energy of all the wonderful devotees. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gemma.
If I may ask a few questions regarding the topics that I've been recently thinking over for some time, I'd be very grateful. Recently, Raghunath spoke of his elderly dog, Gus, and how he was soon to leave his body. By the way, he was, but he got magically cured by Radhanath Swami. Now he's kicking his paws together. My own dog,
he's like moving around a lot more now?
No, he's totally healed.
It's crazy.
I was like, it is amazing.
All right.
He couldn't even make it onto the couch. We were like
practically not moving.
I know. It was sad. Maybe she's got some dog issues. Maybe we send Radhanath Swami on dog house calls to heal the dogs.
Like the Catholic Church has that day where you bring your animal to the church, you know, and they give it some blessing. Maybe we need that kind of thing.
Why are all these pets on the direct flight to Mumbai? All the dogs at the flower festival. Wouldn't that be great? Okay. Dog throws flowers at Kostuba.
Dogs would be freaking out at the flower festival.
Oh, the pit bull's gone crazy. Living in my turbo scenarios. Okay. Although my own dog is getting older, and I was recently diagnosed with her, for which he was recently diagnosed with cancer, for which he is now being treated with chemotherapy. Did you know that Leslie Scott, a regular other, also has a dog named Gus? He's, I think, a white retriever, and he's also old like my dog too. I thought that was a Krishna miracle. Okay. And I think he actually left his body, Gus.
We're hearing right now about this dog that has going through chemotherapy.
Okay, got it. Bring it back. Thank you. Although some would have the idea that he is just a dog. No. I'm trying to come to terms with the idea that he will leave his body soon, and how best I may help him to transition into his next life, hopefully with some spiritual advancement. You know what? We're all just humans. But to the degree that you develop a friendship and a relationship, that human becomes even more special. So it's not just a dog. Okay. He is my main companion, spending nearly all my time with him. He is often in the room when I listen to Kirtan, chant japa, listen to the podcast, or other Bhakti teachers. Is there anything you recommend I do to help this soul on his spiritual journey? Or anything you suggest to help me cope with parting from him? He is definitely more than just a dog to me, including helping me when my mom passed. away several years ago, he has also been with me since the start of my own bhakti journey.
That's
I
what they
wish
say in the UK, mum. Right? They say mom. They say mum.
the dog's going through chemotherapy.
I'm sorry.
Can we pull it back, please?
I'm sorry.
I wish to help him in all the ways that I can while not getting too bogged down in my attachments and maintaining realization that his soul will move on to Krishna's on as Krishna wills it too, but also finding it.
Oh, you got to read
difficult.
that again, right?
That was it was a run-on sentence. I'm going to blame her. I wish to help him in all ways that I can while not getting too bogged down in my attachments and maintaining realization that his soul will move on.
Maintaining realization that his soul.
There's no
will move
comma.
on.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
That his soul.
This is your
will
second
move
time
on
around.
as
So
Krishna wills it to.
okay.
But also finding it difficult to think of those we love being trapped in this material world for an extended length of time, when perhaps I can do something to help him now.
Okay. The sentence was a bit extended as well.
That could have been 3 sentences, but you know, now with
It's okay.
voice command, I just keep talking into my phone. Okay. Am I correct in thinking that one usually has to be in the human form of life to pass back to the spiritual world, back to Krishna?
Okay, that's one question. There's a second question here.
Here's
Why don't we deal with this question first?
Sure.
Okay.
You
Well,
know,
Raghunath, you're the dog owner here. Why don't you get started on this
I vacillate between I'm helping Gus.
one?
My dog.
He's helping you.
Well, yeah.
All right.
Like that
Yeah, no,
bumper
no.
sticker, who saved who?
All right.
You know, but it's true. Well, because sometimes I think, well, I'm going to give the dog prasad. My dog sits with me during puja every morning, just sits there and just watches. So sometimes I think, well, this is good. I'm helping him. I'm putting holy water on his head and I'm giving him prasad to eat. But you know what?
Yeah.
Sometimes I think in the terms of Judd Bart, like actually Judd Bart or Maharaj Bart died prematurely before he had reached perfection, and he became a deer, and that deer was all knowing, and that deer took birth in a holy place surrounded by sadhus, eating their remnants and drinking Ganga water. So I'm like, well, maybe he's the advanced soul, and he took birth in a family that was worshiping the deity just to get some association, and he has to burn off this body.
He may
And
be
like
more
he
advanced.
he could have been incredibly evolved in a last life, sitting on the bank of the Ganga. He got attached to a dog. He fed a dog a chapati, and then he died before he hit.
Okay.
You know, so who knows where we're at? All I can say is that we live in this reciprocal world. You know,
Maybe Gus was a dog in like Hardwar that heard your kirtan there, Raghunath, died, and then took birth in your home. One more birth as a dog so they could be around you and your kirtan, and then we'll go back. Because it just like had committed some particular something that was holding him back.
you know what?
And you know, what
If
about
you
that?
zoom out,
It's possible.
he's not even a dog. He's a transgender man identifying as a woman in one life, as like a super macho Latino guy in the next life, as a tall red-haired Irishman, as a Celtic king, as a Roman. They're just all different.
Gus.
Now it's Gus, and it's a spirit soul, and we have no clue where people are at. So we say, treat everybody with dignity, and treat this dog in the same way we would treat, like a student comes to my house, I offer him the finest prasad. I offer him
Always.
a place to sleep.
Yes.
Right? And the dog comes, I take care of the dog. I love the dog. I treat him with some dignity. Sure, sometimes I shoo him off the couch, but for the most part, if Kostuba
not very
shed like
often.
Gus, I'd shoo him off the couch too.
You know what about my thoughts on this question, Raghunath?
Yeah.
Is that towards the end of the question was asked, am I right in assuming that you have to go to the spiritual realm and transcend, that you have to be in a human body? Generally, we say that's true, but not absolutely, right?
Not absolutely.
Not absolutely. And when we do hear circumstances like, well, this person had to take one more birth in this way and then go back, right? So
Yeah.
that's a possibility too. I love Emma's concern for the dog. And you know what? We live in such a messed up world, Raghunath. You know, it used to be we had like, I can't even say we because I didn't grow up in it that much. I mean, I was able to witness it to some extent, like with extended family, but even like my extended family was like all over the place, you know. But you know, it used to be we had closer human relations and deeper human
Yeah.
relations, and you know, we lived with a broader, more extended family, and communities were closer. And nowadays, we're really alienated from one another.
Isolated from.
Yeah, isolated, alienated, and it's not uncommon that, you know, a pet becomes emotionally more
A
meaningful.
therapist.
More, yeah,
a
more
therapy
meaningful,
dog.
more meaningful than it might have been in the past. And you know, Prabhupada once said, you know, dog is person too. You know, so it is a person, and your concern is nice to see. I think one of the nice things about bhakti is it's not a path like, say, the path of yoga, the path of jnana. The dog can't do any of that. You know, but with bhakti, Prabhupada would say even a dog can take part in the kirtan, right? It's like
They can do down dog. That's about it.
Lotus,
forget
they do
it.
it very well.
Forget it.
but you know, but it's a fact. Like there's tremendous. I watched Gus when I was staying with you up there a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
That every time you do your puja, just Gus kind of just like
Right?
slumps on over there and
Just
plops
slumps
himself
on
down.
over, drops down.
Yeah,
Gets ready for the.
He hears that sound, and for somehow or other, on whatever level we don't know, it's comforting and satisfying to him to hear. He feels like this is good vibes. I want to be right around here right now, and he's taking it in every day. And whether it's Agyata Sukriti or Bhakti Sukriti, you know, on what level he's understanding what's going on, we don't know. But we do know that he's appreciating it and thriving on it and benefiting from it. And so it's great. You can do anything for that dog. Practically, like, you know, you can read a Krishna's pastimes and just let it be purified by the sound. You can do kirtan for the dog. You can offer prasadam to the dog. You can, you know,
your dog is going to have a magical next destination.
Go for it. Do all those things. You know, it's like give that dog everything you can get, and it will certainly benefit. I have no doubt about that.
You're going to benefit. The only thing you got to take care of is yourself. This dog's got a divine destination, Gemma. You got to worry about yourself, and and it's very natural that when great devotees leave this world, we become sad. But that's a transcendental sadness too. It's not a lamentation. It's like a transcendental lamentation that brings you closer to love of
bittersweet.
God.
Yeah, bittersweet.
Yeah, because we see like this great soul is going higher and higher and higher, either into the spiritual world or taking a very exalted birth.
Yeah. So go for it. Give that dog all you can.
Not just your dog, your plants, your everybody that you give love to is making benefit from being around you.
Yeah. Chant around the dog. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
There's nothing better than chanting around the dog. Kastuba Das. Okay. Remember, you have to do the closing song today.
Yeah.
All right. What else we got?
We've got, well, the second question come from Gemma.
Oh, Gemma's still going. On a different topic.
Yeah.
And trying not to sound too doom and gloom. In my daily prayers, I pray for peace in this world. Though in the back of my mind, I struggle with the fact that we are in the period of Kali Yuga, right? That's the age of quarrel and hypocrisy.
Sure.
Making this apparently an impossible feat, right? How do you have world peace in Kali Yuga? Is there a way that you suggest I redefine this prayer? For while Kali Yuga continues, this world is to fall into further states of despair. And with natural balance of things, there can never be complete peace. And yet, this is what we desire. I guess I'm searching for a more realistic yet positive and loving prayer. Inner peace is the start, but how to spread it outwards, particularly when not all are receptive to our own peace. Thank you in anticipation. Also, a big shout out to all the UK listeners. If anyone is in Scotland, I'd like to get in touch. Words cannot express my gratitude. Hare Krishna, Gemma McDonald.
Gemma. Is that a Scottish name, Gemma?
I think so.
I think so too.
But I don't know. Ever been to Scotland?
Any Scotland people, Gemma McDonald?
Ever been to Scotland?
Have I been there? No, I've never been to Scotland.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
That's all. Okay. You want to answer that question?
Oh, sure. First off, I want to say I appreciate your prayers. I don't think the optimism in those prayers is going unappreciated by the Lord within your heart. Also, just want to throw this in there that, for the followers of Sri Chaitanya, we say that within the Kali Yuga, Sri Chaitanya is going to kind of like bring in an era of devotional love, of bhakti that we're meant. So your prayers are like serving that. It's not like it's just getting purely darker from here on out, right?
This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Age of Aquarius.
No high note, please.
Aquarius.
Okay.
That's the golden age. We're in
the golden age. So that's there. And I want to say there's this prayer by there's a prayer by Prahlad in the 5th canto.
Such a freaking catchy song.
Yeah. There's a prayer by Prahlad in the 5th canto where he prays. I'll read it. And this is a prayer that I've often heard chanted, in modern day and age by different important figures within the bhakti communities. Prahlad prays, may there be good fortune throughout the universe. May all hostile persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga. For by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of him. There you go. Gemma, you can pray like that.
That's a great piece. A great prayer for peace. You could chant that prayer.
Pray that way. Let's be an influence of peace based on spiritual knowledge, right? Peace based on spiritual knowledge. Let's be an instrument of that. And anything can happen, even in this dark age of Kali, particularly with Sri Chaitanya's grace behind it.
I like that.
You got something to add to it?
World peace can't be done. It just can't exist. Anarchy is a myth. It's the nature of us, the material world. All you got to do is look at animals and fish or birds. I saw this 3 little birds eating on a nest, and sometimes people put cameras right there. Ever see that with they put cameras on bird feeders? I saw 3 beautiful little songbirds just eating. And then it captured. It was a hawk, a raptor that came down. It took all 3 birds.
Oh my God!
I know. There's
one
no
in each
good
claw and one in the beak.
I don't know how it did it, but it was so quick. Yeah, and I was just thinking, world peace can't be done. If there's birds of prey out there, we can't have world peace. And the best we can do is come to peace. The best we can do is come to peace with this world. That means we have to work on ourselves and coming to peace and accept that the temporary world is the temporary world. And
don't you have any desire to change the world, though? Come on.
Yes, I do, and it comes from me accepting that.
Oh, so that's just the first step.
That's the first step is I have to accept that there's a temporary world, and I'm not going to be able to change everything, but I can change how I react to everything. Then people will see that and inspire that. Don't tell me about this. I've been doing this my whole life, Prabhu.
Well, okay, but it sounds like you keep going back to this, like only internal, not external.
Your internal becomes external.
Okay,
your internal becomes external because how you broadcast your life by your behavior, by your thoughts, by your words, it changes a circle.
What about spiritual activism? What about that?
Yeah. Well, what do you think I did? What was like Youth of Today and
I'm not judging what you've done. I'm asking what you're saying right now.
But I'm saying Youth of Today and Shelter. Those were my bands when I was younger.
Activism? Yeah.
It was a type of activism for values, for principles.
Okay. So you felt you could make a positive change in the world.
It does make a positive change, but it wasn't necessarily telling them. It was changing me. And then I just do what I do. I was a singer, so I would write songs about it.
But you were telling people back then, come on.
But that's because I was a singer, and that's what I would broadcast. Okay. But even if you are so I'm saying in your universe, you'll change people. My universe reached, a few 100,000 people. There's some people that will reach millions of people, and there's some people that would just reach your village or your family.
Okay. But so speaking out is okay.
That's what happened. Speaking out's fine.
Okay.
It's not even necessarily speaking out. It's just speaking. It's not like everything has to be a lesson to you.
No, but sometimes lessons are good too. That's all I'm saying.
Sometimes lessons are good.
Okay. But
Sometimes-
most important is that we live it ourselves and we transform ourselves, and then that'll give us.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Or else
Got it.
what happens is it becomes fueled by ego and like, I'm gonna school y'all.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Let's.
And you gotta
I
be
found it
careful
to
of
be a
that.
teachable moment. That's the one I hear all the time now. I took this to be a teachable moment, and then I totally condescended to everybody. I took the role of teacher,
I took the role of teacher again.
and they took the role of ignorant student of mine.
And then they walked away and gave me the finger.
Okay. All right. I think we're done for today, Raghunath. I think
Oh,
kind of.
that's it. All right.
Unless you want to add
everybody.
anything to that last question.
No, we got Harshal Gore for next week.
All right. Oh, we got
Save
yeah.
it for next week.
We'll
Harshal
put that
Gore.
on the Harshal is on
Thanks.
deck. Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. Q&A day. Tomorrow's a day off. We're back Monday at 6 a.m. And remember, we got stuff coming up at the farm. We got let's talk about January. January, we got our 300-hour teacher training. I cannot hear your music, sir.
How's that?
There we go. We got our teacher training going on, the 300-hour. That goes on the entire month at the Govardhan Eco Village. You can check my website, raghunath.yoga. The first half, we also have another training called the Kirtan Academy that goes on from the 3rd to the 14th, and immediately the 14th to the 26th is our Wisdom of the Sages wisdom training, which we study sacred literature, lots of kirtans, delicious food. If you want to hang out with Mika Steuben Mara, check that out. That's on my website or the wisdomofthesages.com website. Get on both of our mailing lists. Dan Murphy's saying, yes, there is a Save a Day. We're having a Save a Weekend at the farm. And we're also having me and Lori's retreat, Chant Camp retreat. A lot of these are getting sold out. And so if you want to come up to the farm before the year end, go to my website, raghunath.yoga, go to the events page, and you'll find everything we're doing. And of course, me and Jiva G are doing something together for a Bhakti recovery.
Oh, Raghunath, going on and on and on.
It's the end of the show. I just go on and on and on and on.
You know, you
And
pick
on.
one for one day and then you throw another one on the next day. You know,
It's just more and more and more. I'm going to Bhakti Fest this year too. If you're anybody going to be at Bhakti Fest, say Haribo. And the Ahimsa Yoga Music Festival too, up in upstate New York. Looking forward to that.
and save the date for Indigenous Days.
Columbus Day weekend. Indigenous Day
Columbus
doesn't roll off the tongue.
It doesn't.
Indigenous Day. Indigenous Day. Anyway,
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Columbus Day weekend. We're just going to call it the Wisdom of the Sages weekend. Maybe we should do it every year at that time.
Okay.
And we're going to do that. And me and Kastuba Mayor, we're going to be here. Special guest kirtan person. Going to blow your mind when you find out. And it's going to be a great week. It's going to be a great autumn retreat. Into that, let us know. Email Miss Mara at supersoultrainings@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody. You're beautiful. Love you. And I'll see you Monday at 6 a.m. Let the magic continue to flow. Haribo. Kastuba, you and me have a meeting.
Oh, that's right.